Alright, thanks for checking another one of our videos here on YouTube. It's going to be a maybe repair video on this particular unit. This is a Gallagher B1600. It's a 16 store jewel, probably 10 output, give or take. This is an old style unit. Gallagher sold it here in the States for a few years, basically from about 2009 to about 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in that range, all the way to about 2016, 17, 15, 16, 17. So around for a few years here in the States, but it was around way before that, probably back in the early 90s, mid 90s. It was just sold in other markets. We had the B1200 for a long time here in the States, and then they discontinued that model, brought the 1600 in its place, even though it had been around for years before that. But a lot of parts for this are discontinued. The boards are long gone, and that's the hardest part of fixing this model, is when the boards go bad. This particular unit is probably one of the last generation versions. You see the serial number, that's that long number there. It's a late 2016 model, so it's probably right towards the tail end production run time frame from when they were making these. They did make a lot of changes to them. They were basically the same all the way through their life, basically. But we're going to take a look at this and see if we can make any heads or tails with it, or what's wrong. My hope is that the board's not bad. Most likely is, but that's about the only thing that goes wrong with them are the boards. They go bad over time. There's the capacitors, there's the main module, and there's the output board that does a couple different things. Basically three things. It's a lightning protection board for one, and then the transformer plugs up inside of it right here, right through those two tabs there. So it gets the power from the transformer to the board and gets it out to your terminals here. Does that part of it, and then it also has this half power, full power resistor there to kind of both divide it up. It also does the power indicator light, tells you, hey, when you got good power, or hey, you got problems when there's no power. So it does that. That's the main function of it. But let's go ahead and hook up power to it and see if we can do anything with it. The replacement model today is the MBS 1800i. It's 18 store jewel, but it's a dual powered AC/DC model. These were probably, when they were selling this one new, it was probably right around $1,300 plus or minus. So they weren't a cheap unit, but most battery units aren't cheap. They're compared to their 110 volt cousins. And with us being in the 16 store jewel range for a 12 volt only, there wasn't very many competitor brands to the Gallagher stuff in this same jewel rated energy output and everything. So let's turn it on. Hey, it's clicking, but that light right there is not flashing. So, two things that could be. Either that output board's bad, or the transformer that's sitting underneath it is bad. Let's decide. Let's get our tester out here. Just put this up right here. We're gonna, oop, there it goes. Oh, this does have that one feature thing built into it. It's a photo sensor. It slows the pulse down at night, I think it's that little sensor right there. There's a photo sensor on there that slows the pulse down nice. So if I let back up here, doesn't get as, it's not as slow. Alright, we're going to test the peak voltage out of it. No load. We're just going to go across these two terminals here, and I'll watch this number right there, see if it goes, if it shows anything. Nothing at all. Alright. Let's pull out this output board. Kind of do this backwards. I like to have the unit like this in front of me, like this orientation. Let's look at something real quick. Turn the overhead light on real quick. I want to look at something. Oh yeah, it's a transformer. That winding right there on that transformer wire comes out of to go to here is burnt. So it has a bad transformer in it. Now this is a long gone discontinued part. See it right there. Right there. So this board is fine. Now if I could dig in there and find where the winding went, the wire, which is in a big block of epoxy, you don't damage in something drilling into it and digging it out of there. It's hard as a rock. You could probably solder onto the wire and bring it up to here, but there's no way to know where the winding's at inside there. You can't see nothing. You don't drill a hole. You can't dig into it. You know, and this is a factory transformer. Yep, 2016. The board's got a 16 number on it as well. That board right there's got a 16 number there on it as well. So, yep, just a bad transformer in the thing. It's all original. See, we got the factory tape. You put that in there to kind of keep things from sliding out. These capacitors are a little bit smaller than what ones that they used to use in these type of orientation. They're a little bit smaller around diameter wise. So put that VHB tape, very high bonds, what that stands for, tape on there, so that way the capacitors couldn't slide forward and bump in the tape. Raised up just high enough to where it would bump into this little plastic thing. So now we've got to try to come up with a transformer that will work with this thing. Let me see what I've got, because this is a little bit heavier joule unit power wise, so you got to be a little bit careful. The one I would normally use in here from like an M800 is a little too small to handle it, unless we put we told the customer do not put on anything but medium or low, because that's going to lower the energy coming into the unit. Put on high, you'll overpower that transformer if you use the wrong one and damage the thing. So let me do a little digging around here so I can figure out anything for this customer. Okay, I found one that should work just fine. It's a Gallagher transformer from a different brand, different model. And we should be able to, it's a used one, but it's what I got on handy. It's only about a year old different, but this style of transformer has been around for 40 years from Gallagher. Been a long time. So it's tried and true technology. It'll work really well. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm chiseling out some of that plastic out of here. Because the rest of this unit is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Come on. So now this transformer should sit down inside there, because we have to make room for these little protruding plastic things on the side here. So sit like that. And then I'll use some glue or double-sided foam tape or something, a combination of stuff to keep this transformer from sliding around. Alright, next thing I need to do is, where'd my drill go? Drill a couple holes right up here. Put one right here. Put it down a little lower. And then we'll put one right here next to it. What that's going to be for is we're going to feed the wires from the transformer through here to get to the board and stuff. So let's get this board out of the way. Unplug this switch plug on there. Come on. And they're kind of snug. Come on. There it goes. Pop the board out. Pretty fancy board. All the surface mount stuff on there. Then you have main things that go on with it right here. These boards were for what it is, were very expensive. They were a couple $100 or more for just that board alone. But when you're talking about a $1,400, $1,200 unit, $200 or more was not that much money in the grand scheme of things. Okay, let's get some wiring out here. Take this wire. I don't know how much of it I'm going to need, but I'm just going to cut it to this length, about a foot or so. The wire strippers out, and we're going to start wiring this up. And then we need a couple of Alright, so now we're going to get my polarity right. Alright, let's see. So put a black wire here, red wire here, and we'll feed this through there. Feed the red one through here. And the black wire looks like it went down to this tab here, so it's going to cut a little long. Gives us plenty of working room. Looks like the red wire from the old transformer went up and around and over to here. I think we cut off about that much there. I think that's plenty long enough. Couple more female spake connectors out. Plug the black wire. Do this one wire at a time, so we never really worked on a lot of these. These were pretty trouble-free for the most part. So I don't have the wiring memorized. So I would say in the 15 years since this model was brought to the States, In the time that I've worked on these things, I've probably only worked on like 8, 9, 10 of them. So they just do not come in all that often. It's always kind of a treat to work on one because you just don't see them in that often. So for the most part, they're pretty reliable. I mean, like I said, whoops. Long wire. One up here. That's still plenty long enough. Crimp that on there. Sad thing is, if this had went to anybody else, Gallagher included, they would not have done this. What we're doing, but it was told the customer, "Man, I'm sorry, we haven't made transformers for that model like number of years. We're going to offer you a discount on a new one. You're going to spend $1,300 with us, sir, today. You get a brand new warranty." 90% of the unit's fine. So I just don't like the fact of throwing away the whole thing for one or two bad parts. Especially when you can get the thing going again. Okay, so we're going to take that, get that board, put the board at. Over here. We're going to slide this board back into place. Plug it in here. Okay. Let's hook up power to it, which it is. Let's flip the switch back on. Let's take our meter out. Let's put the tester on there. Now I'll put the output board back here in a minute, but let's test right across the output of the unit here real quick, of the transformer. One wire there. Get about 9,000 volts out of it, almost 10,000 volts out of the thing. Let's turn power off. Let's put this board back in. You still got to wire up the output side of it. Oh shoot, can't do that yet. So, just as I'm saying it, I got to do that still. We got to put in the wiring for the output side of things. So we're going to use smaller gauge wire. For the secondary side, because there's not as much amperage on that side, a lot more voltage, but a lot less amperage. You can get by with smaller gauge wire. The gauge wire on there is pretty small to start with as well, and it's a 40-year-old design, so I'm sure Gallagher knows what they're doing. Okay, so this wire here is for our fence side. Fence side on the board is this wire here, or that connector there, so it's going to go basically over like that. And we're going to snip that wire right there. Should be long enough to reach everything. So now we'll strip that back. We'll get a male spade connector, non-insulated type, like that. You need actually two of them. Put that on there, hold that for a brief second, flip it over. And we'll clamp that on there, nice and tight. So let's do like that. And we'll get this red wire here. This is going to be for a ground side. Okay, got a little ahead of myself. I should have cooked the female spade on first. Getting a little low on these male ones, so I don't want to get too carried away and cut that off and have to find another one. Let's put this board down in there so I can kind of see what I'm working with. I think this will be fine. We may have to trim off a little bit. Let's just cut off just, I don't know, about an inch. I think that'll be enough. Because if I cut off too much, I gotta start all back over again. Plug it on there. Now we'll plug all the wires in. Okay, let me bend some wires down so they don't accidentally touch each other and arc over to one another. I'm gonna squeeze on this a little bit just to make sure we get a nice tight connection there. All right, let's flip the switch on. Red light's flashing. Oh, probably got it whooped now. Let's see what the voltage output. Now we might lose a little bit compared to what it was. So we were reading 9.6 earlier. That output board does put a draw across the unit because it is going across fence and ground. It's got all those parts on there, so it probably won't be 10. We're reading 9.3 versus almost 10, so we lost like 700 volts roughly. All right, let's go to 500 ohm load. Now we're on the full power switch setting, so it went down to 2,000, or dropped by about 2,000 volts, 1,500 volts, or about 7,000 volts, right there at 4.5 joule output. Let's go to a 200 ohm load. Now up to 7 joule output, 4.5 kV. Let's go to 100 ohm load. About 8 joule output at 3,200 volts. That transformer I did put in there is not as efficient as this transformer here, because of how it's designed, so maybe why the joules isn't climbing as high. But we're on full power switch because it does have a medium, high, low. So medium's in the middle, high's in the middle, medium's up high, and low's down at the bottom. So we had it in the middle there. Let's check these capacitors real quick, make sure we're not missing anything there. These are 40 microfarad 900 volt capacitors. So we'll put our meter on capacitance. We'll put it across the top of one of them. It should be, should be about 80 because they're wired in parallel. Well, hold on. I'm getting kind of goofy readings. Let's pull this board out for a second just to kind of take it out of circuit. Test them again. Right where it should be. Okay, so let's put this board back in there. Come on. All right. Well, this one's basically done. I need to pull pull this board back off. We'll put do a combination of maybe some glue slash, some really good glue, not just Elmer's glue. Some really good strong glue, and we'll probably run a bead across here as well, right down there, just to help keep it stable. But I think we got a whoop now. So other than that, not too bad of a repair. Took a little time, but not too bad. All right, well, that's it for this video. We're going to write them up, call the customer up, and I'm sure they'll fix it because they can't buy a new one for what we're going to charge them to get this one fixed. And everything wasn't too bad of a repair. Just a new transformer, some wiring. That was it. It's stuff and we'll be good to go. Well, thanks for watching. Till next time, see you guys later on.